So once you're done with your audio project and you're ready to submit your work or publish it or just export it for other people to listen to, there's a similar process as exporting from Photoshop or Illustrator. So the AUP file that we created, again, is just the edits. And if we send that to somebody like on their phone or whatever, they're not going to be able to actually listen to it. So what we want to do is export a file that is, an MP3 or another type of file that people can actually listen to. So for some reason this is not opening. Let's go to Audacity and drag it on there. Okay. I don't know why that's not opening. Let's quit Audacity and try it again. Okay, there we go. So we have our edits here, and we want to export it so we can publish it on the Open Lab or send it to people. So I can go to File, go to Export, and then we have a few options here. Export as MP3, export as WAV, export as OGG, and then we can also export selected audio, like we can export only the parts that we have selected. We can export multiple, which will export each one of your tracks separately into different files, which could be useful if you're working with somebody and you want to send them what you've edited and they can do some mastering or mixing or something else like that. We're just going to focus on the first option, export to MP3. This is going to be sort of the best file size versus quality. We can also export as WAV or OGG just to compare the quality and file size there as well. So let's start with MP3. This is going to bring up my dialog box. If you see it like this, just open the little arrow here, and we can go to Desktop, find our audio project. And you could make a separate folder for exports, or you could just put them directly in here. It's up to you how you want to do it. So we have schoolsounds.mp3, and let's see, we can set a few settings down here. The bitrate mode, probably mostly just want to leave these alone, but what the bitrate mode does is it changes how fast the audio is being encoded. And so it's kind of a complicated process, but if I say a variable bitrate mode, it's going to basically encode the audio at different rates as it goes. So it's going to try to optimize the rate of the audio. If I do it at a constant rate, it's going to keep the same quality, and it's just going to encode everything at that quality. And so that might take a lot longer because it's going to have to do more work to do that compression. So I'm just going to leave with the preset. That's going to be fine. But you can see the different settings, and this is a trade-off of how long it takes to export versus the quality when it's done exporting. So if you have time and you want something that sounds really, really good, you can do a constant bitrate mode, and you can do it at 320 kilobytes per second. But for us, we're probably not really going to notice the difference, so I'm just going to stick with standard. We can stick with stereo. We could export to mono if we want to, but there's no real reason to do that. So once we have the settings that we want, I'm going to click Save. And it says your tracks will be mixed down and exported as one stereo file. So it's just kind of saying that, that's what's going to happen. There are cases where you might want to mix down your tracks separately to a left and right channel so that you could, if you're working on a film and doing audio for a film, you could put different channels into your film editing software or something like that. Also, if you're doing something for like surround sound or something with positional audio that may have more than 2 stereo tracks, you might want to do something with that. But for us, one stereo file is what we want, so I'm going to click OK. And it's adding in a bunch of metadata that it's pulling out of one of the sound files that I use, so I'm just going to delete all of this. I don't really want it to be tagged with these things. You could put stuff in here if you wanted to. You don't really need to do this, but you could put in like a link to your Creative Commons license. You could put your name here if you want. This isn't really necessary, but this is what will show up. Like if you send somebody a file and they open it on their phone, if there's no data in here, it's just gonna like say the file name or something like that. But if you want actual data to show up, like the song name, you could probably add an image somewhere here, although I don't see that. But if you want, specific stuff to show up, that's where you can put it in this metadata. So we could put like the track title is School Sounds. You could put the year is 2022. You could put your software if you want. You could put a copyright message. You could see the previous track had a link to their copyright. So once you add those files, just hit OK. And that went really, really fast, right? So we're not super worried about speed. If I don't like the quality, I could choose a higher bit rate and export it again and see if it sounds better. So now we have our schoolsounds.mp3 here. And if I open this, it's probably going to open it in iTunes. And so that sounds fine. If we want to open it, we can also open it in QuickTime or another audio player. And so that sounds pretty good. I'm happy with the audio quality there. The file size is 3.7 megabytes. That's probably because I didn't edit out the end of the song, which like I probably want to do. I don't necessarily want to just have this whole song at the end. So maybe I'll fade everything out after I stop talking. So if I want to make another edit, I can do that and just export over it. So I'm just going to fade these guys out here. So I'll just put my cursor a little bit after where I finish speaking and make a cut. So I'll say edit where do I split cut? Okay, well let me do that. So I'll just cut a little bit. I want to make a cut in the track. How do I split? Here we go. Split. Okay, where was that? Clip boundaries split. Okay, so I'm going to split there, and then I'm going to align my cursor again and choose this one and edit clip boundaries split. So then I'll just cut that section, and then I can do a fade out here. So I'm going to select this whole section like this. I'm going to select multiple tracks and then go to effect and go to fade out. Okay, so that fades out nicely. So I'm going to save that and I'm going to export it again as an MP3. So it'll take me through the same prompts, and I want to rewrite the file that I had. So I'm going to keep the name the same. I'll just click replace, click OK, filled in all of this stuff again. So let's get rid of this. Okay, so I'll just put in my name, track title, year, okay. So that went so fast that we didn't even see it, and now it's really small. It's only 400 kilobytes. So that's good. That means it's going to be easier to post on WordPress and send to people. The quality is still fine. So that's one file that we can use as our export. Let's look at a couple others and just see what the differences are. So I'm going to go back to export and export as wave. And so I don't have to change the name because it has a different ending. So I'm just going to leave it as schoolsounds.wave. And you can see there's different encoding options. And so these are just different ways that it encodes the data. The default is 16-bit PCM, and that's fine. PCM is that pulse code modulation that we looked at when we first started talking about digital audio. 16-bit is plenty of data for what we want. if we had less, like, we talked about like 8-bit and how that sounds like a little distorted. So less than 16-bit maybe would start to sound bad, but 16-bit is fine. So I'll just leave that as the default. Click Save. Okay. Okay. So if I go back to the Finder, there's my WAV file. So notice the WAV file is still pretty large. It's 3.7 megabytes, but it's the same length. So this is still just 21 seconds. This is also 21 seconds. So the WAV file is the same length, same sample rate. Let's see if it's the same. Yeah. So same everything, but this one is 3.7 megabytes versus 400 megabytes. So it's like however many times, like over 7 times larger. So let's listen to that and see if we can tell the difference. Can't really tell the difference. Maybe if you were listening on headphones, you'd be able to tell the difference, but listening through these speakers in this room, we can't really tell the difference. So there's one more file type that we can export. So we can export as OGG. And this is a little bit of a newer format that is also lossless, like the WAV file. So it saves more of the data. It has a higher quality, but it uses a different algorithm. And so its file size is smaller. And we can set the quality here. It doesn't really tell us what that corresponds to. But let's see if we can tell the difference. So I'll do one at 0. So I'll put a 0 at the end here. Click Save. And let's do another one at 5. And we'll do one more at 10. Let's see if we can see the difference in the file size versus the audio quality. Okay, so we have our 3 OGG files here. So 0 is 154 kilobytes, so it's very small. 5 is 334, so it's a little bit lower than our MP3 file. And then 10 quality is 984 kilobytes, so it's higher than our MP3 file, but still much less than our WAV file. Let's see if we can actually hear the difference. So this is 0 quality. Won't let me play it. Let's see. You can listen to it in Chrome. This is my sound portrait. Okay, so it sounds pretty good for 0 quality. Let's see what 5 quality sounds like. This is my... Can't really tell the difference. And then here's 10. Okay, so we still can't really tell the difference. So before I would, if I was actually producing like a podcast or some audio content, I would want to listen to it in headphones and also multiple different contexts. Like I'd want to listen to it in my car, on my like nice headphones, my AirPods. You want to listen to it in different contexts so you can tell what are the noticeable audio quality differences in different places, because it is going to sound different. We're in this room, we have these speakers in the ceiling that are pretty far away from where our ears actually are. There's also a lot of noises, there's building noises, there's a lot of stuff going on that makes it hard to hear the actual quality. But if you have headphones on, you may be able to hear more of those differences. Okay, so now let's look at actually posting this. So I have my exported file, and then I have my project files, and I want to, for the exported file, I can just post that on the Open Lab, and then for my project files, I want to zip those all together. So I have more files in here than I really want to upload to Blackboard, because look, the whole thing right now is 300 megabytes. That's like too much data to upload to Blackboard. So we need to cut certain files before we upload it. So we can do that. I'm going to quit Audacity. And I'm going to save before I quit. So we have a bunch of stuff in here that we don't need to upload. And so if you have a lot of different files that you've been working with, but they didn't all make your final edit, you don't actually need to put them all onto Blackboard. And so what we can do is just look at which files we really need and then which files we can put somewhere else. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. I could duplicate this whole project and then just delete certain parts of it, or I could move different things around. So it's pretty likely that you may find yourself in this position where you're like, I have all these different files, what do I actually need? So we can go back and open up Audacity, see what files we're actually using. So we have this audio track 1, we have this jazz track, the hallway sound, and the school bell. So we need to make sure all of those are in our final project folder. So there's our jazz sound, here's the school bell, here's the hallway sound. The audio is in here. So that may be part of the original file. Let's see if we can figure out where that is. So if I go here, I have audio track 1. Usually there's like a data folder here that has that file in it. So I'm actually not sure where it is. I didn't notice this either. So let's go and look at our settings. So if we go to Audacity Preferences, go to Recording, see if we can figure out where they save the files. Okay, it's not in here. Okay, there's a temporary files directory, but I don't think that's where it is. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can find audio track. No. What about data? Okay, so let's Google it. There should be a folder of data here that Audacity creates, but I don't see it. So let's Google it. Audacity, where are recordings saved? Mac OS. Directories preference. Okay, so maybe we have to actually set this. And this actually may be something, because Audacity got bought by another company recently, so they may have changed this. Because usually there's like a data folder, so let's see if we can find this. So I'll go back to Preferences, Directories, and let's see. Session data. I don't see anything in there. One thing that I can do to check, I'm just going to copy this location and then go to Finder and Go. And I can click Go to Folder and paste the location in there. And see, there's no audio files in here. Huh. So that's weird. Okay, let's keep looking around. Okay, so I don't see it anywhere. One thing we can do to test this, let's go back to the Finder. So here's our audio project. Let's see if we move our files somewhere else, if it still works. So I'll do audio project 2. And so we need our hallway sound. We need our jazz music. we need our school bell and school sounds. And so let's see if that works if I open it from here. I have to close it first. Okay, so it's still there. This is my sound. And it's still working. So it must be part of this AUP file. And that file is actually very large. It's 83 megabytes, so that kind of makes sense. So they must have changed. It used to be that it would make a data folder and it would put the recordings in there. But it must have changed that, and now it looks like it's in here. Let's see if we can. No, we can't see inside of this. Okay. So as long as it still works when we open it up and all of our waveforms are there, if you were missing something, like if I forgot to copy the school bell file, let's just see what that would look like. So let's say I forgot to put in my school bell file here. I'm just going to throw it back there for a second. And then I open this again. Oh, it's still there. Okay, so maybe they changed. All right, so it looks like they're actually putting all of the data in that AUP3 file, which is different than how it used to work. Let's see if there's any info about that. Oh, yeah. All right, so you can see how up to date I am with what's happening with Audacity. So it says Audacity 3 has been released with a new AUP3 file format that makes it harder for projects to become damaged and increase performance while editing audio. Okay, so now it's acting more like Photoshop, so we don't actually have to worry about this. We can just submit our AUP3 file, and that should work by itself. So let's test that again. I'm just going to put all of my audio somewhere else and open this up. And it still works. Okay, so never mind. I'm gonna have to rewrite these notes, but that's okay. So you can just upload your AUP3 file. We don't need to upload the other sounds as well. So let's just put this back here and delete this folder. But we still do need to publish our exported file on the Open Lab. So if we go to the Open Lab, we will create a new post. And we want to choose a category first. So under this settings gear, under post, we have some categories. And I'm going to add a new category for audio. And so this is our audio project. And so here's my audio project. And so to add audio, we can't just drag it like we did with the images when we were doing the self-portrait. I have to actually add a special audio block. So I'm going to click on this little plus and type in audio. And that'll bring up my audio thing. And now I can drag here, or I can go to upload, desktop, MMP 100, and we'll use the MP3 file. And so I can add a caption here, school sounds. And then remember, we have the template for what's required here. So I'm not going to fill out the whole thing, but I'll just do kind of an example. You could copy this directly in there if you want. This looks like it's missing an M here. So we need the title, semester, year, and software. So the title is School Sounds. Semester/year is Spring 2022. And the software is Audacity. And so now we can add in a description after this. So again, a similar thing to our Photoshop and Illustrator project. Just a few sentences talking about what the inspiration for the project was and where you got the audio. So I'm just going to write something real quick. I'm going to say my audio portrait is of BMCC starting class. I used a recording of my voice for narration and sounds from freesound.org and this Openverse and Openverse. And then we also need to do our credits again. So you can copy this format here and paste it and then just add in the data. So I'll just do my first audio. So the first audio file I used in this, I'll go back to my notes, was this background music track. So I'm going to copy that link and take a look at the data. Okay, so the name of the track was Jazz Urban. The author or artist is Les Orellis and Balades. So I'll put that for the whole name. And then the license is CC BY. Let's click on this. CC BY NC ND 2.5. So this is a more specific license. So I'll put that for my CC license. And you can put a link to the license as well. WordPress is kind of annoying to edit. So I'm just going to select all of this, paste it in here. If I want to link to the actual license, I can do that. So I can copy this link and then add a link into this text and paste the license here. That's kind of useful because I can Google what that license is, but if I'm curious, I can just click on it. Okay, then the title of the website is Openverse. Openverse. Oh, it's just a WordPress site. Okay. And then date uploaded, date visited. So the date uploaded, see if it says on here. It doesn't look like it has a date, so that's okay. We don't need that if it's not on here. So we'll skip the date, and then we just need the link at the end. So I'm going to copy that link and put that where it says URL. And if I want that link to actually work, I can select it again and just click on the link, and it'll just fill it in because it recognizes that it is a link. I'll put open in a new tab. And so now if I preview this post, we can listen to the sound. Okay, and then we see all of the information. So I just did the first credit. Obviously, you can repeat that process with your other credits. And that's pretty much it. So if I like the way that looks, I can click publish. And if I need to edit it later, I can always do that. So once this is published, we'll take a look at that. So there's my link. If I click view post, it'll take me here. If you're logged in and you're looking at your own post, there should be an edit button at the bottom of the post. So if I click edit, it'll take me back here. And I can make some changes. Let's say I had like a typo or something like that. I could say, I could add some credits or something, or what else could I add? I used a, let's say I used freesound.org, Openverse. That's kind of all I used. But anyway, if I make an edit, I'll just click update. If you don't click update, it's not going to save. So don't forget to click update. And that's it. You don't have to change the link. The link will stay the same. So if you make a change, you can just click update and the link stays the same. And if I want to go back, I go down to here to the permalink. And so this is the link that you would submit on Blackboard, along with you can just upload your AUP3 file. And so you can see this file is pretty big. So if you want it to upload a little bit faster, you can still actually zip this file itself. So if I go to compress, it's going to compress, and you'll see it's a little bit smaller. We'll see how big of a difference it is. Okay, so it's not a huge difference. It's only like 10 megabytes, 12 megabytes less. So that might save you a little bit of time for uploading. I don't know if Blackboard has a limit for uploading. We can go check. All right, so if I was gonna submit this project, let's go into student preview. I haven't created this assignment yet. I was gonna do that on Thursday. So let's just pretend I'm doing it here. So I would attach a file. Let's see if I can attach my regular AUP3 file. Okay, well, it didn't give me an error or anything. So it looks like that's fine. I don't know what the limit, Blackboard limit on upload file size. It says 2,500 megabytes. So it's not likely that your file will be bigger than that. So it should be fine. So yeah, that's everything that you need to do for that assignment. Any questions? Anything I should go over again? That's okay. You still have time to work on it.
Do you have a preference for what kind of file we should upload, like MP3 or OGG? Do you have a preference?
MP3 is fine. That's kind of the standard. I think OGG has a better quality, but MP3 is going to work in more places. And so with audio, especially if you can't actually tell the difference between the two, you're better off using something that's going to work. You know, if I text it to somebody, or somebody opens it on an old computer, there's a lot of different contexts, and MP3 is going to work in basically all of them. OGG is not quite as supported, but we can actually check. Like if I go to can I use and look at OGG, you can actually see the support. So it's pretty good, but there's places where it's not going to work. So it's not going to work on Safari iOS. A lot of people use Safari on their iPhone. It seems like partially supported by like actual Safari, which is kind of interesting. Chrome supports it, Firefox, Edge, Internet Explorer doesn't support it. That's not surprising. So yeah, the format may be better, but as far as distribution, you might run into these issues. And a lot of people, you can actually support both, which is something we'll talk about in our web development section. You can, if you put something online, you can actually have both files. So you could put both files like on here. If I went to edit this and I make a block, let's make one. How do I make a block above this? Insert before, click audio, upload. I use the medium quality. So here's like school sounds, OGG. So you could put both on there. That's not too hard to do. But yeah, you're going to run into this support issue. So MP3 is supported even in Explorer, all the major browsers. For some reason, not in Opera Mini, which is kind of interesting, but not very many people use that, so that's okay. So that's kind of the big difference when it comes to file formats. It's the same thing with images. Like if I look at like PNG, like it's supported everywhere. Obviously, it's like a very popular format. There's new image formats that may be better than PNG. Like WebP is a new image format, and the compression is much better. It's a higher quality format. but you can see the support is kind of similar to the OGG file. Like it's supported in a lot of places, but it's not quite there in everywhere. So that's kind of the trade-off in file formats. Other questions? All right. Let me